Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
This is easier. Well, regarding office turnover, there really hasn't been that much in Anderson. There have been several attorneys that have left due to leaving for other employment opportunities or moving out of the county. But one of the things that I see that my administration will do is, one, we're going to be more proactive, more aggressive. And one of the things that's currently lacking is the ability of the office is not working and communicating with law enforcement. One of the biggest complaints I hear is that no one calls us on our case. The time we learn about the disposition of a case is after it happens. And that falls on the attorneys. You know, it's their job to do that. And that's one of the biggest problems that I have seen. One of the things is people will be punctual. They're going to be on time, and they're going to do the job. They're going to do what they're paid to do. I mean, that's what the taxpayers put us in office to do. You know, we're beholden to three groups of people: taxpayers, law enforcement, and victims. And right now, I don't think they're getting their just due. They're getting their dollars worth. One of the things is that it's not going to be the same old status quo. Is that people have got to get out. My office will work with law enforcement. I mean, that's who I hang out with. That's who are my friends. I'm not taking the job. I'm not trying to be elected to be buddy-buddies with everybody in the office. What it will be, though, is working hand in hand with law enforcement. You see some of the officers back here. You can ask them who works with them. Who do they call when they need help? Who will come out to the crime scene? That's what we have to get back to. Not about, it's just about us. No, it's about the whole group. It's about working together hand in hand with law enforcement. It's working with the citizens. You will see more active involvement in the community. The prosecutors and investigators need to get out in the community. They need to be held accountable. Because right now the citizens don't see them.
Thank you. This next question, you'll have to pull 2 minutes, but I'll read it as written. All I want is a yes or no answer. Do you personally, and the word personally is underlined, do you personally support the death penalty? We'll start with Mr. Wagner.
Yes, I do. And I just want me to elaborate on that. I think we need to use it more. There's been a couple cases in Oconee that I lobbied the solicitor that we should seek the death penalty. I know in the case that we had for trial this week, the one Mr. Burke keeps harping on about 2.5 years old, that was potentially a death penalty case. My recommendation to the solicitor was that we seek the death penalty in that case. It took quite a long time for her to make that decision that she didn't want to. And she did that after consultation with the victim's family. Mr. Burke said that, you know, we didn't contact the victim, that victim committed suicide. I personally sat down in the sheriff's office with her and discussed that length. So there again, public defender stretching the truth there a little bit. But I think we need to use it more. I know it's expensive from a taxpayer's proposition. It's an expensive thing. You've got to have, extra large jury panels. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of court time. But I think the death penalty is a deterrent, and I'm for it. I actually wish we could go back to the death penalty for other crimes besides just murder. You know, back like it used to be. Because I think there's some crimes like child molesters and stuff like that that might warrant the death penalty in certain cases, and I'd be for that.
Thank you. Mr. Byrd, would you like to rebuttal?
I certainly would. For one, keep getting referred to as public defender. I'm not a public defender. I have been. I've also been a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. I've been a police officer. I was deputy general counsel of the consular agency. So there are a lot of different names you could pin with me, on me. I do agree with Mr. Wagner. The case they just had should have been a death penalty case. Not only was it not referred as a death penalty case, the second person involved in it has been cut some sweet deal. He pled guilty to manslaughter, not even murder. And he's not going to be sentenced until after the election. I'll leave it with you to figure out why that's happening.
We're back to the yes or no on the death penalty. Mr. Campbell.
Yes, I do. And I think I'm the only person up here who's been involved in at least 2 death penalty cases. Once as a criminal defense lawyer, because I have not always been a prosecutor. I have worked in private practice, where I was a general practitioner, and I was appointed to a death penalty case. The other case is, I think I'm the only prosecutor up here, or person up here, who has prosecuted a death penalty. And that was with actually Solicitor Christy Adams when we prosecuted Melendez Rivera for killing 2 people here in Anderson County. So yes, I mean, that's a straight answer. Yes, I believe in the death penalty.
Thank you. Mr. Burke.
I definitely believe in the death penalty. I certainly disagree with Raymond on that one. I've been involved in death penalty cases before. There was a short period of time where I was the only lawyer on active duty with the Air Force that was death penalty qualified. The toughest, and I think defending them is a lot tougher than prosecuting them. And it's a moral issue. I do think life is sacred. I wouldn't rush into it. The cases like we had this past week in Oconee County with 2 hoodlums break into a family's house, or they're in their house asleep, doing nothing wrong, and murder one of them. If you're going to have death penalty on the books, that's it. There's no excuse for not going forward with death penalty on that one.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question, Mr. Campbell, we'll start with you. If you were the solicitor, would you have handled the Zachary Hammond case differently?
Yes. And where I go with that is this, is one of the part of our job, when you are the head solicitor in the community, in this case in Oconee County, you work with law enforcement hand in hand. And there's a public perception of what you do. In that case there, in my opinion, it should have been conflicted out to somebody else. Dude, it gets rid of anybody thinking that you're cahoots, you're in bed, you're covered for the police. Because there's some decisions made in that case that affects a lot of people. It's been in the press, I don't know, a couple of years now. And a lot of decisions went into that. And you hope that when that prosecutor makes a decision, they make it based upon all the information they have. But there's that perception that the prosecutor's office is covering for the police. And that just leads down a bad road, or down a slippery slope that you don't want to get into. And we do it all the time when you have a case in which there's a lot of, not public outcry, but when you have such a close working relationship, it may affect your judgment to look at that case in an open-minded position. Then you need to conflict it out. And I would have conflicted the case out to another circuit because of that reason.
Mr. Burke.
Mr. Campbell once again stole part of my thunder. That was definitely a conflict of interest. There's no way in the world you could justify working with law enforcement day in and day out and then turn around and decide a case like that. But to make it even worse, that entire case was handled behind closed doors with 2 or 3 attorneys deciding what they should do about it. That case should have been put out in the sunlight and either sent to another jurisdiction. We have a grand jury system. We're an old common law state. 18 people meet once a month. A case like that, if you're going to keep it, which I think would have been wrong, you take it before the grand jury. Let law enforcement come in, give those citizens a chance to look at it, let them decide. We started out by saying the primary thing we need to do is restore faith in the solicitor's office. And there's no way you can have faith in the solicitor's office with these serious and questionable cases are being decided behind closed doors by 2 attorneys and no explanation given to the general population.
Thank you. Mr. Wagner.
Well, I can tell you what my advice to the solicitor was, and I told her, and I told her several times, and I argued with her that we should farm it out to the Attorney General's office. I think we should lobby. I think legislatively they should probably change that to where any officer involved should be goes to the Attorney General's office. And not even necessarily another solicitor's office. They got enough to deal with on their plate. And I'm not saying the Attorney General doesn't, but I think it does take the appearance of impropriety out of the equation. And I do think the fact that the Oconee office where I work had we prosecute the Seneca City Police Department cases. And as a result of that, my advice to the solicitor was that we needed to send it to the Attorney General's office. I actually drove down to Columbia and met with the Attorney General himself. And she, with her, I don't think they wanted it. I think they probably, on those cases, they're probably gonna need to have to take those in the future. And that my position on that would be, I would lobby that they take those cases and that they handle them for the whole state. Whether they have to get more people to do that or not, that's up to them. But I think if somebody does take us out of the equation, it does take the appearance of impropriety out of the equation. The solicitor chose not to do that, so she didn't listen to me. But that's her prerogative. It was her call. She made that call. She ought to stand by it. As far as answering your question, which I don't know if anybody else up here really has done, as far as would we do anything different, how many people in here read Graham versus Connor? Anybody? Well, that was the standard. That's the standard. That's the case that you go by for the standard that applies. I've read it several times. I was right in the middle of that case. It was a very sad situation. I see Mr. Hammond's parents back here. You know, there was a lot of things on both sides that could have been done a whole lot different. But that case law, the solicitor followed the case law as far as what the law said, and she followed the law. That's all I can tell you about that. There was more than 2 or 3 attorneys in there. The FBI was sitting in the room, 2 SLED agents, and 2 guys that run the training division for the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy, and they all agreed with her. So it wasn't just 2 or 3 attorneys.
Thank you. We've been going about 45 minutes. We're going to take a 5-minute break. It looks like we probably will run until about 8 o'clock, so we'll have about 45 minutes after. But let's take 5 minutes. I've got 7:15 on the dot now, so we'll come back at 7:20.